Today we're doing Module 5, Lesson 14. The objective is to place fractions on a number line with endpoints 0 and 1. The materials needed for today are your online whiteboard or your whiteboard dry erase marker and dry eraser. You also may want your fraction strips to reference to see how they compare to our number line. The teaching style we're going to follow is where I do it, we do it together, and then you do it on your own. First up, you can see we have a number line here, and it's asking what fraction does the number line show? So we haven't worked with number lines yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a fraction strip right above the number line so you can kind of see how they compare. So we're used to having the fraction strips, and I'm going to look at this line that they have here, and I'm going to draw a line there on my fraction strip as well. And then I'm going to look at this line here and draw a line there on my fraction strip. Okay, so you can see how a number line starts at the same place and ends at the same place. So when we're over here, we have 0 for our fraction, okay? We don't have anything yet. Just like if we were right here on our fraction strip, we wouldn't have shaded anything yet, okay? And then once we get to the end, we have 1 whole, okay? So if we had this entire fraction strip, we would have 1 whole fraction strip. Now, you can see that on our number line, they've drawn 2 lines to break up the pieces. But just because there are 2 lines does not mean that it is in halves. You have to look at the space in between, just like we look at the space in between on our fraction strips. So you can see on our fraction strip, we have 1, 2, 3 pieces. So just like that, we want to count the spaces on our number line. So there's 1 space here, 2 spaces, 3 spaces, okay? So this number line is broken into thirds, just like the fraction strip I drew above it. You can also count that on the number line by starting at 0 and seeing how many times it takes you to get to 1. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's broken into 3 pieces. All right, so now we need to figure out what fraction the number line shows. You can see that the dot they have put right here on this first space. So on my number line, to represent the same thing, I'm going to shade my fraction strip all the way to where the dot is on the number line. Okay? So these are shaded and stop at the same place, so they represent the same fraction. So what fraction is that? Well, how many pieces did we have to shade? We shaded 1 piece, right? Just this one. Or on the number line, we only hopped 1 time. And how many pieces are there altogether? On our fraction strip, we know there's 3 because it's broken into thirds. And on our number line, remember, it takes 1, 2, 3 jumps to get to 1. So what fraction does the number line show? The number line shows the fraction 1/3, or 1 out of 3 pieces. Okay, let's go ahead and have you try one with me. What fraction does the number line show? So what I want you to do first is I want you to draw this number line on your whiteboard, okay? So we just have a starting point that's labeled 0. Your line goes all the way across to the ending point where you have your 1. And then right here in the middle, there is a line, and that's where our dot is at. So take a moment and draw that. If you want to, you can draw your fraction strip right above it, but you don't have to. Okay, so if you draw your fraction strip, remember it has to be the same size, so it has to start at the same place and end at the same place, and then it has to have a line right at the same place as the number line. So I'll give you a moment if you want to draw the fraction strip to compare. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look on my number line. I'm going to start at 0. How many jumps does it take me to get to that dot? It just takes me 1 jump. So if I were doing my fraction strip, I would just label, or shade 1 piece. And you see then they end at the same spot. So our numerator is 1, because on our number line it only takes 1 jump to get to that dot. On our fraction strip, we only had to shade 1 piece. We still need our denominator though. We need to know how many pieces is our number line and our fraction strip broken into. Go ahead and take a moment, see if you can count how many pieces our fraction strip and number line are broken into, and write that as your denominator. Okay, so on our number line, it takes 2 jumps to get to the 1, just like our fraction strip has 2 pieces. So our denominator is 2, because our number line is broken into 2 pieces. So what fraction does the number line show? It shows the fraction 1/2. Takes us 1 jump to get to our dot, 2 jumps all together to get to our 1 whole. Okay, go ahead and erase your whiteboards. We're going to try one more example. This time we're not going to draw the fraction strip. We're going to just practice with the number line alone. So take a moment, draw your number line, and then we'll start figuring out what fraction it represents. Okay, now that we have our number line, first let's try to figure out our numerator. Okay, then remember the numerator is the number that goes on top and it represents how much is shaded, or in the case with number line, it represents whatever our point is at. So if we start at 0, it takes how many jumps to get to our dot? Write that on your whiteboard as your numerator. And then in just a moment, we'll see if your answer matches mine. Now for your denominator, how many jumps does it take us to get to 1 whole? Write that as your denominator. Okay, so it took us 1 jump to get to the dot, and it took us 4 jumps to get to the 1 or 1 whole, which means that this number line shows the fraction 1/4. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at what you're going to be doing for homework today. IXL skill V15, which is identify unit fractions on number lines. So you can see it says, what fraction does the number line show? It's got a number line just like we've been looking at, and it's asking what the fraction is. So you can see that it takes 1 jump to get to the dot. So we know the top number is going to be 1. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Takes 6 jumps to get to the 1. So we know our denominator is 6 because the number line's broken into 6 pieces. So this number line shows the fraction 1/6. So we would just click on the 1/6 and submit. Go ahead and begin.